on the air with a rarity, it seems, in Washington. A brief but fiery moment of agreement between Democrats and Republicans united on offense against this guy, the former special counsel who investigated President Biden, as Robert Hur goes on defense now to back his decision not to prosecute the man he called well-meaning and elderly. Team coverage just ahead on the spiciest moments in this marathon hearing and the big question that could swing the 2024 election on the president's age. We're also live in California with the new push to free a convicted murderer whose case seemed to launch 1,000 true crime shows. Why lawyers for Scott Peterson say they have new evidence proving he didn't kill his wife, Lacey. Also breaking in just the last few hours, the police chief in Uvalde, Texas, resigning just days after a report cleared several officers for the botched response to the deadliest school shooting in American history. His successor already named. More on how some of those students' families feel about this latest development. Then, where the search stands for a missing college student not seen for days after a frat trip to Nashville. And what we're learning tonight about a Boeing whistleblower who criticized the company's safety culture, apparently found dead, with new reaction from his family later in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and tonight you've got this political brawl exploding over a central question voters say they're thinking about. How much should President Biden's age matter? To Robert Hur, you see him here, the former special counsel testifying today as a private citizen. It's not a factor after Hur called the president an elderly man with a poor memory in his report, saying he has diminished faculties as part of the rationale as to why Hur chose not to pursue criminal charges against President Biden related to how classified documents from the Biden vice presidency ended up at his home and private office. So listen, Hur is basically saying today, hey, I wrote about the memory stuff because I had to show my work to my boss as to why I wasn't going to prosecute. And he's making one thing clear.
Exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm going to continue with my
questions.
I'm going to continue with my questions. I know that the term
I ultimately reached whether sufficient evidence existed such that the likely outcome
you exonerated
a conviction.
I know that the term willful retention has a
You hear him saying there that word exoneration does not appear in the report. Republicans zeroing in on that, among other things, as Democrats accuse her of playing politics.
The president, I did not share classified information. I did not share it. I guarantee I did not. That's not true, is it, Mr. Hur?
That is inconsistent with the findings based on the evidence in my report.
Yes, it's a lie. It's just what regular people would say, right? Yeah, all right.
You don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing.
Okay, so here's the deal. Hur says that he did not believe that a jury would convict President Biden, and his report is clear. What happened here is not the same as what happened with former President Trump, who faces 40 federal charges and a possible trial for bringing top-secret documents to Mar-a-Lago. And the backdrop to all this tonight, both men, President Biden and former President Trump, probably just hours away from officially clinching their party nominations, hitting that magic delegate number. The state we're watching tonight, Georgia, one at the heart of the 2020 election and one that could swing this one, too. Blaine Alexander is there. We'll get to her in just a bit. We're going to hear, of course, from Team Trump through Garrett Haake and his analysis in just a sec. But I want to start outside the White House where Kelly O'Donnell is posted up. And Kelly, listen, theme of the day, at least from the White House, from Team Biden, is aggressive pushback here to this testimony and this report from Robert Hur.
Very much so. And they believe that the ultimate conclusion of this report is very good for the president, but they also understand that in the national conversation around it, it has been at times withering in its portrayal of the president, his memory, his wellness, those kinds of things. And that has spawned additional criticism. So there is a lot on the line, even though the ultimate decision of this prosecutor and the Department of Justice is that there is nothing to go further. So part of this was about dealing with the president's memory. And, of course, his interview with Robert Hur, who testified at length today, happened right after the attack in Israel. So it's the weekend of October 8th and 9th. The president is talking for a period of many hours over those 2 days with a lot of other things going on. And at the same time, in the conversation that was going on in reference to his late son, Beau Biden, there was discussion of some dates. And when people look at the transcript, they can see that and see there's back and sort of natural conversation that's going there. And clearly the president is trying to put it in a point in time He knows the date is May 30th. There's some question when you look at the transcript about what year it was. The president talking about his son was either deployed or dying, and Hur comes back with the year. So it gives you a sense of why Hur decided to talk about that issue and how the president was a part of his conversation, sort of stream of consciousness, if you will, thinking through things as he's talking. That, of course, has been a focus. We certainly heard Jim Jordan and others attacking on that today. And we also heard from the president's spokesperson here, who is working with the White House counsel's office. And he says the bottom line is really no charges. This is Ian Sams of the White House counsel's office.
Well, in America, we do have the presumption of innocence. And when a prosecutor spends 15 months investigating a case only to determine that there is no case here and that there will be no charges and that the case is closed, it only affirms the innocence of the president.
So that is the bottom line from the White House. They would like this to be all over and done with. Republicans certainly believe that there was worthwhile information from their point of view about the president's handling of classified information, and that will remain an argument as they continue in their efforts to look at impeachment. And certainly this was a day where Republicans wanted to showcase the work of Robert Hur. Hallie?
Well, so that's right. And this idea that Robert Hur described his memory lapses, which Republicans have linked to this age issue, something that we know is going to be the backdrop to so much of this general election campaign moving forward. You see the polling, we're about to show it here. Nearly 3/4 of voters say that they agree that President Biden may just be too old to be an effective president. We've seen a sharpening, or a shift, I should say, in strategy for President Biden in the last couple of weeks on this, right?
We have. We are seeing the president, in their words of the administration and the campaign, trying to take it head on, to joke about it, to acknowledge it, to say with age comes wisdom. For a long time, they tried to sort of put it off to the side. Now they recognize it is such a big issue for voters. It became inflamed further with the Hur report that they're trying to talk about it openly at his speeches from the State of the Union to on the trail. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell live for us there on the North Lawn. Kel, thank you. Garrett Haake is joining us now. Okay, so we know somebody who was probably tracking this, and that is former President Trump, because he was claiming hypocrisy, given, as we know, he faces a lot of charges, dozens of them, by a separate special counsel. He claims, Mr. Trump claims, it's the same classified documents issue. Robert Hur says no such thing, right, in his report. In fact, he goes out of his way, and he did today during that testimony, Garrett, to make clear this is not an apples-to-apples kind of situation.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, the most important point that Hur makes on this is basically everything that happened after the taking of these classified documents was different. The president's approach to returning them versus the former president's approach to trying to hide them, the alleged obstruction of that effort by the former president down in Mar-a-Lago. But look, Hallie, to a certain extent, the former president got what he wanted here today. He got video clips of Robert Hur saying essentially, yes, there were classified documents in all these places they shouldn't have been essentially kept there by President Biden. He posted such a video to his Truth Social account earlier today. And I think he and his campaign are going to lean pretty heavily on this idea that there's a whataboutism factor here. The facts, the particular details don't matter. Classified documents, bad. Both guys did it. It's a mess. And hope that voters don't take the time or energy to dig into the details of what actually happened here. They just look at this and at least take it as a wash.
Let me play for you a little bit of what we heard from the other side of the aisle. Congressman Johnson, who had this pretty fiery exchange with Robert Hur on the Democrat side of things. Let me play it.
You knew that that's what was going to happen, didn't you?
Congressman, I reject the suggestions that you have just made. That is not what happened.
But you are a Republican, though, aren't you?
I am a registered Republican.
Yes, sir. And you're doing everything you can do to get President Trump reelected so that you can get appointed as a federal judge or perhaps to another position in the Department of Justice. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I have no such aspirations, I can assure you.
So he rejects that flat out, Garrett, as Democrats are trying to be really aggressive here, painting him, casting this as nothing more than gratuitous partisanship, as you've heard. On the Republican side of things, I'm going to ask you, I know you're a Donald Trump sort of point person for our team there covering that. Former Hill correspondent, put on both hats, if you will, because there's a nexus to the impeachment inquiry that seems to have sputtered out on the Hill as well. Talk us through that.
Yeah, look, on the political point here, I mean, I think it's interesting the presumption from Congressman Johnson that, only Democrats can investigate Democratic presidents or only Republicans who don't want other postings? I mean, I don't remember Democrats taking the same issue with Robert Mueller, a Republican, when he was investigating Donald Trump. So that's sort of bad faith politics that you sometimes see from both sides here. On the impeachment element of this, look, this is another problem for House Republicans, where every time they start down a road toward what they believe to be promising evidence in their impeachment inquiry of President Biden, it kind of sputters out. The Hunter Biden inquiry seems terribly stalled at this moment, if there's anywhere left for it to go after their interview with Hunter Biden late last month. And this was another possibility for House Republicans. They thought perhaps they could pursue something in this classified documents investigation to find an impeachable offense. But if they didn't have it before today, they certainly don't have it now. Robert Hur was very disciplined in staying within, as they like to say, the four corners of his report. I don't think you're going to see another impeachment article arise out of classified document handling, at least based on what we saw here today from Robert Hur.
Garrett Haake, thank you very much. Let's go now to Blaine Alexander in Atlanta, because, Blaine, we mentioned what is to come potentially in the next, 6, 7, 8 hours here, which is the possibility that former President Trump clinches the Republican nomination by hitting that magic delegate number, and that President Biden also clinches the Democratic nomination, essentially making official, Blaine, what we've been talking about for the course of the past year plus, a general election featuring Joe Biden and Donald Trump here. Talk us through what things are like in a state that is voting today where you are, Georgia, so central to the 2020 election. It will be just as central to 2024.
Absolutely, Hallie. And in talking with voters here and in some of the suburbs, voters really have a good sense and a good understanding of, one, just how crucial Georgia is in the math for both candidates to make their path to the White House. But another commonality is that nobody is excited about the candidate at the top of their ticket on either party. Now, the reasons for that certainly are different, and what they choose to do about it is also very different. So here's a little bit of what we're hearing from voters. We spoke with voters here. Right now we're in Fulton County. We know it very well. Typically, when I talk to you, I'm talking to you about the charges that former President Trump is facing in Fulton County. It's a very strong Democratic area. But we actually spoke with one person who's a Democrat and another person who's a registered Democrat, but in the past has voted Republican as well. Here's a little bit of what they had to say. Take a look.
Joe Biden, he's up there in age, but he's got some plans, I mean, he's trying to overcome what Trump put in place.
That was un-American to go to our nation's capital and try to start an insurrection over something that transpired here in Atlanta.
And so those are kind of some smatterings of things that we've heard from voters, not just today at the polling locations, but as I've talked to voters in different parts of the state over the past couple of weeks or so, Hallie. So certainly it's going to be very interesting when we talk about the fact that we're looking at the same two candidates as we did back in 2020, but the landscape around it is so different. So that's why both Republicans and Democrats tell me that they do feel there's an opening for either candidate to take the Peach State this time around.
Blaine Alexander live for us there in Atlanta. You're going to be real busy, I think, over the course of the next 7 months, Blaine, for a couple of reasons, some of it related to your job. Thank you, Blaine. Appreciate it. So listen, let's take you out west today with the first step in the fight for a new trial for Scott Peterson, convicted of killing his wife and unborn son in one of California's most infamous murder trials. We're talking one of the most high profile in a generation. You see him here in today's hearing, joining remotely from prison, where he's serving a life sentence without parole for first-degree murder. Laci Peterson had been reported missing Christmas Eve in 2002. Her body washed up on shore of the San Francisco Bay months later. Now, the Los Angeles Innocence Project has taken up the case, trying to test new evidence and new DNA analysis tech to prove Peterson's innocence. It is honestly hard to overstate just how big a deal this trial was when it happened. You're looking at it, wall-to-wall coverage on the news. It launched multiple TV series, multiple docs about the case itself. It seemed inescapable then, and now it is back in this really unexpected way. Liz Kreutz is following this for us in Redwood City, California. What are the chances here that Peterson does get a new trial?
I mean, Hallie, that is the huge question. And it's really hard to say right now, but it's definitely a big deal that he had this moment today, now being represented by the LA Innocence Project. And what we're told by folks involved is that the LA Innocence Project is really going to be looking at a series of different pieces of evidence that they feel have been overlooked and that Scott Peterson maybe didn't get a fair trial 20 years ago now. The big aha thing, though, that got the LA Innocence Project really intrigued and got them on board report is this question about a bloody mattress that was found in this burned out orange van the morning after Laci Peterson disappeared. It was found about 2 miles from their home. And apparently a sample of that mattress was taken and logged into the Scott Peterson evidence base, but it was never investigated at the time, never looked into. And it wasn't until a few years ago when a former TV news producer who was looking into this case discovered it that it really then came to light. Testing was done on this a few years ago. It came back inconclusive, but the LA Innocence Project believes that they have better testing and will be able to perhaps figure out whether or not Laci Peterson's DNA could be on that mattress.
How big of a deal is it that the LA Innocence Project is taking this up in the first place, Liz?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big deal. This is a very reputable organization. They are a premier, well-known organization for dealing with DNA testing, for one. And they get a lot of people sending them emails and requests, take on my case. So the fact that they chose to take on this case certainly is significant. That said, we should point out that not every case they take on, they're able to exonerate their client. And so it's not a done deal. It's also not the National Innocence Project. This is a subsect of the Innocence Project, a smaller version of it based in Los Angeles at a university. But certainly the mere fact they are taking it on, that they saw something there that made them think, maybe we should look into this. Maybe something was off back 20 years ago during this trial, certainly says something. And I think we're all going to be watching very closely in the coming months. The media frenzy was back here today, Hallie.
Really?
All the media here, a big reunion. A lot of people who covered it 20 years ago back today with T-shirts from the time. So yeah, it's all coming back.
Sure is. Liz Kreutz, I should say, thank you so much for covering all things Scott Peterson. Appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk again. Thank you. To Pennsylvania now, where we're just learning a man and woman have been found dead at the scene of what the fire chief calls a severe house explosion in Pennsylvania. So severe that all that's left, as you can see, is this smoking hole in the ground. The house just obliterated, and barely the foundation is left. You look at this and you think, how could this have happened? Officials either don't know or they're not saying. I want to get to Emily Aketa. Do we know anything at all about this one?
Hey there, Hallie. Yeah, the pictures, as you could see, really quite stunning. The home is absolutely obliterated. I'll tell you one of the things that we are just confirming with the son of the victims, the couple being identified to NBC News as Helen and David Mitchell. We know that the explosion happened just before 9 a.m. outside of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County. And the blast, it was so powerful. It was felt and heard miles away from the site. One woman describing seeing her garage door of her home blown into her home. Other people describing it sounding like a bomb. There was debris scattered throughout the trees, throughout the area, really rattling the community. It is the only explosion of its kind to ever happen in Crescent Township. Here's more from the fire department, which just sat down the hill less than a mile away from the site of the explosion. Take a listen.
We all felt and heard the explosion. Instantly, a column of white smoke up in the air, followed by a thick column of black smoke. A very significant explosion. You could feel it in your chest, and you could definitely feel the explosion.
And the timing of this explosion really strikes a chord because exactly 7 months ago, there was another house explosion in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, that killed 6 people, including a 12-year-old boy. The cause of that explosion still has yet to be identified. Today's incident also being investigated by a number of different agencies. Officials saying that there was a private gas well and propane tanks at the home. Many people, just for background, use private gas wells that use natural gas, and unlike gas from a utility company, gas from wells, it doesn't always contains little to no odor to alert the user, the homeowner, that there could potentially be a gas leak. Again, I need to underscore that the cause of this explosion is still not clear, but we know the Department of Environmental Protection, the ATF, and the fire marshal are investigating. But Hallie, it could be months, if not years, before this community gets answers.
Yeah, no kidding. Emily Aketa, thank you very much for that. Late tonight, the Uvalde, Texas police chief announced he is stepping down after a report came out last week clearing officers of wrongdoing in that horrific shooting, the worst school shooting in American history. Police Chief Daniel Rodriguez saying in a statement, "It's been an honor to lead the dedicated men and women of our police department." He did not mention the shooting. He did not mention the report. His resignation is effective April 7th. The assistant chief of police will be named interim chief for the time being. You'll remember an analysis found that police officers on scene knew for something like 77 minutes that more than a dozen students were alive, locked in a classroom while the shooter was in the building. Officers stood by, that analysis said, waiting for tactical gear to arrive. The chief was on vacation, not in Uvalde at the time of the shooting. A total of 19 students were killed and 2 teachers. More on this as we know it. Also tonight, new questions about who will lead Haiti after the country's prime minister announced he'll step down as violent gangs take over the country. You see the man considered to be Haiti's most powerful gang leader just yesterday, firing shots as he walks down the street, a show of force with the country crumbling around him. Remember, Haiti's been in crisis for years, really after the country's president was assassinated in 2021. But last weekend, you saw that state of emergency we've talked about here on the show ever since it happened. Gangs banding together, attacking government institutions, airports, prisons. Guad Venegas is joining us now. Okay, so the top gangs in Haiti now are getting the resignation that they wanted, with the prime minister announcing he's stepping down. They had been threatening more violence if this didn't happen. What is the prognosis? What is the assessment for Haiti over the next 48, 72 hours now?
Hallie, yeah, that's correct. So they wanted the prime minister to resign. He has now resigned. It's been less than 24 hours, so we have to wait and see how the gangs react. And we had the video of that gang leader known as Barbecue, who's speaking on camera, showing his opposition for the now former prime minister, who said this about him stepping down yesterday.
We're not in a peaceful revolution. We're making a bloody revolution in the country.
Now, we should also say he is a former officer with the Haitian National Police, so he has some knowledge of how authorities operate. In fact, what happened during these last few weeks included a lot of attacks on police stations and other important parts of Haiti. So it's going to be very difficult for the police that is in Haiti to regain control. So we have to wait and see how these gangs react. Now, the video was shared last night with the prime minister informing the country that he would resign. He's asking Haitians to please remain calm. There's also a curfew that has been put in place, so there's hope that all of this is going to help. But really, with the gangs controlling 80% of Port-au-Prince, Hallie, it's important to see how they will react, and they do have a lot of power in what happens next. With this new Security Council taking over, they will then lead Haiti into the next phase, which hopefully will be with less violence. And then there's also the issue of the Kenyan force, the peacekeeping force, that could be coming to help with that security issue there.
There's also this transitional council, Guad, and you've referenced it here, alluded to it here, given all the uncertainty at this point. We know that Secretary of State Blinken was in the Caribbean just within the last 24 hours trying to talk with other leaders about this. Talk us through the diplomatic piece of this, because there is a broader implication, obviously, than simply beyond the borders of Haiti.
So in the last 2 weeks, the prime minister had left the country. He traveled to Kenya to speak to Kenyan authorities and talk about that peacekeeping mission to try to convince those troops or the government there to send the troops. Meanwhile, this violence began in Haiti. Now, as this violence developed, there was a meeting that took place last night with the leaders of various Central American countries and also representatives from Mexico, France, and from the United States. Secretary Blinken was there. After that meeting ended, they announced that they were proposing this change. And we now have the prime minister accepting that resignation and transferring power to this presidential transitional council. It's going to have 9 members, 2 observers, and 7 others that include representatives from the political parties in Haiti, members of businesses and Haiti, business leaders, as well as members of civil society and a religious leader. Now, that council has one job to do right away, and that's to select an interim prime minister to replace Henry. And ultimately, this new government has one goal, and that is to hold elections. That's one of the reasons why the gangs wanted Henry to quit. And one of the complaints was that they did not hold elections for years. And Henry kept saying that because of the security issues, they had to keep pushing elections to the next year. And they had already announced that they were going to push them again to the next year. So hopefully they can hold elections soon, because all of the elected officials in Haiti have already ended their term. But of course, with the security issues and no elections being held, it's been very, very chaotic. So a lot of pieces moving. We'll have to wait and see how the gangs react in the next few hours and what happens with all of these changes in Haiti, Hallie.
Guad Venegas, live for us there in South Florida. Thank you. Coming up here on the show, why the Fed may hold off on lowering interest rates, maybe for months. Plus, we're taking you inside an investigation into the shadowy world of organized retail crime. How police tracked one suspect all the way to her mansion. Boy, there's so much controversy over a new statue of Kobe Bryant. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. But first, new details coming into us about a deadly fight in California, some sort of altercation. A sheriff's deputy shooting and killing a 15-year-old boy after he charged at officers with a garden tool, a sharp one. That's according to the sheriff's department that's also releasing some of the disturbing body cam video. We're going to play it for you. We are only going to show you part of it once. It's the moment before the teenager was shot by the deputy. You can hear the deputy yelling, telling the 15-year-old to get back. We should note the sheriff's department added the blur and paused the video. You see it here. The sheriff's department says they responded to an emergency 911 call from one of the teen's family members who said he was assaulting people in the home and damaging property there. Detectives are now investigating. Elwin Lopez is following this from L.A. Tell us more about this one.
Yeah, Hallie, one of the teenager's sisters called 911. In that phone call, you can hear that she's distraught. You can hear the chaos unfolding in the background. She tells the 911 operator that her brother has broken into the home, that he came through the window, he had glass in his hands, and that he had assaulted their sister. You can hear how distraught she is in that call, and we know that that call lasted a little over 5 minutes. Some of it has been redacted due to privacy reasons, and the sheriff's department has released 2 sets of body camera footage from 2 separate officers. One we just saw there, the officer entering that home and that teenager charging towards the officer with that 5-foot gardening tool with a sharp blade at the end of it. That deputy then retreating from the teenager, running away from him, saying, get back, you're going to get shot. The other video is from a separate deputy. He is a little bit farther back, and it's a wide shot view of what's unfolding, and you can see him draw up his gun. We know that all of this ended tragically with those deputies fatally shooting that teenager. The family of that teenager now coming out and saying that that 15-year-old boy had autism.
The sheriff's department is pointing to the need for more mental health resources now, Elwin, and because of this, right? How does that stand?
Yeah, that's right. They released a statement. We're going to show it to you right here. But the sheriff said that the social safety security net for those who are experiencing mental illness needs to be strengthened. He also pointed out that the vast amount of calls they receive, like this one from the teen's sister, saying that most of them do not end in violence. The sheriff also stating that these violent encounters typically require split-second decisions, and that while those decisions are lawful, they're awful in terms of humanity. He says that he feels for both Ryan's family and for those 2 deputies who will struggle with this for the rest of their lives. Hallie.
Elwin Lopez, thank you very much for that reporting. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, Congressman Ken Buck announcing today he will resign from Congress at the end of next week. Buck already said he wasn't going to run for re-election. He's a Republican, so this means that the GOP's super slim majority will get even slimmer. Buck says he's looking forward to staying involved in politics and spending more time with his family. Number 2, so maybe not so great news from Tesla, because today it got poor ratings from U.S. safety officials for its automated driving tech. The officials say there's no evidence that it's really helping with safety. We reached out to Tesla for comment and haven't heard back, but the company has previously said Teslas with autopilot engaged are safer. Number 3, right now, a team of experts from the CDC is in Chicago helping local health officials manage a measles outbreak. That's after 3 more people at a migrant shelter there were diagnosed with measles, bringing Chicago's total to 5 so far this year. Across the country so far, 45 cases of measles in all have been reported. Number 4, it is Equal Pay Day, and a new survey from our friends at CNBC find there's still a long way to go, ladies. Fewer women got raises this year compared to last year, and more women this year said their pay actually went down. The separate groups finding women are earning 84 cents for every dollar that men make. 84 cents for every dollar that a man earns. Think about that. Number 5, the LA Lakers say they're going to fix typos on the new Kobe Bryant statue outside their arena. At least 2 players' names were misspelled. Same with the word decision, spelled wrong. They've known for weeks. They're already working to try to fix it. Stocks going up today despite that news that inflation is ticking up a little bit. Look at this. The Dow is up more than 200 points. The S&P closed at another new record. The strong market closing after the number that tracks how much stuff costs is up a little more than 3% compared to a year ago. But that good news for the stock market, maybe not so great for the Fed, which sees the inflation numbers not moving in the right direction after months of progress. Christine Romans is joining us now. Help us make sense of it. How should we be thinking about this? What's the most important thing about this?
I think it's just stalled. Huge progress on inflation last year. Huge progress coming down from 9.1%, which felt awful, and now at 3.2%. And that's up a little bit from January. It's not the straight line of progress that we saw last year. So stalled here, stymied here. And the things that are the reason, the culprits, housing, which has been, quote unquote, sticky inflation. I'm sure you've heard that. It's like turning a battleship trying to fix the housing price problem. And gasoline prices ticked up a little bit. So that's what you have there kind of behind these numbers. So it's 2 months in a row of above 3, still stuck in this. Since October, it's been stuck between, 3.1 and 3.3%. So stuck in this little band, stuck, stalled, stymied. I could use a whole bunch of S words. The alliteration is everywhere here on the inflation report.
Girlfriend, your alliterative illuminations here are just killing it. Talk to us about the thing that you and I love to talk about, because I think it's important. This perception between the numbers and how we feel about these numbers, right? How we feel about our money.
I was actually joking with Tom Yamas earlier today that I'm going to ban the word inflation from my vocabulary. I'm just going to say affordability, because we can talk about the inflation rate all we want, but things are less affordable today than they were 4 years ago. For example, overall prices are up 20% compared with the beginning of 2020. Groceries, Hallie, look at that number, up 25%. So this is why people feel so rotten about the economy, because they remind every time they go try to buy a hamburger. Now, I will say the President Biden, out today with a statement on these numbers, pointing out that things like gas, milk, eggs, and appliances are cheaper today than a year ago, but still saying that there's a lot of work to be done, and of course then using it as a kind of a trampoline for the things that he wants Congress to do with him to lower costs for housing and a lot of other things. So talking about those prices and affordability, that's the sort of the political take on all of it, but 2 months in a row here where you just didn't see the progress that you would that you'd like to see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Christine Romans, thank you
Great
very
to see
much. You too. When we come back, some new video from the night a college student went missing in Nashville, but his parents are now saying about what they think happened to their son. Plus, what fire officials in New Mexico are doing to try to stop what you're looking at here. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Midwest Bureau, police in Ohio arresting 2 women for driving a dead man's body to a bank to take out money from his account. Police say the suspects were the man's roommates. They allegedly put his body in the front seat of a car to use the bank's drive-through teller window before dropping his body off at a hospital. We don't know how much they took out. They are obviously facing multiple charges for that one. Out of our Western Bureau, multiple fire departments fighting a huge brush fire in New Mexico. Look at all the smoke there, just blanketing this area. They're trying to stop it from reaching some nearby train tracks. Also out of our Western Bureau, Taco Bell is shutting down indoor dining at a couple of spots in Oakland, California. Why? Because of what they describe as growing safety concerns. They say that the Taco Bells will still stay open for the drive-thru and that they're going to hire security guards. Other fast food chains have done something similar in and around Oakland. Tonight, the parents of a missing University of Missouri student are begging for help after their son went missing on a fraternity trip to Nashville. Riley Strain. You see him. You're about to see him here. There he is. So he's on surveillance footage crossing a Nashville street. He's by himself late Friday night. Police say he'd been kicked out of a bar. His friends lost track of him. Police have checked local hospitals. They've checked jails. They tried pinging his phone. That's led nowhere. Country star Luke Bryan owns the bar he was at, but was not there at the time. Kathy Park is live for us in Tennessee. And Kathy, I understand that you've just spoken with Riley Strain's stepdad. What did he tell you?
Hey there, Hallie. Yeah, despite the circumstances, the stepfather is telling me they are hopeful. They're hopeful that they will bring Riley home, that he will graduate this May. In fact, I was told when they knew something was wrong, when they found out that Riley was missing, they actually got into the car from Springfield, Missouri, and drove straight to Nashville, Tennessee, and began their own search efforts throughout the weekend on the ground, but unfortunately still no sign of him. The stepfather also added that Riley stands out in height and stature. He's 6'7", blonde hair, blue eyes, but he also stands out just with his personality. He's an outgoing guy, never met a stranger, but obviously the family is heartbroken. They are distraught right now. They are desperately searching for answers, and like I mentioned, they are searching on the ground around for any clues that may lead them to Riley. But the other thing that was odd, according to the stepfather, is that Riley contacts the family regularly. In fact, he contacts his mom 4 to 5 times a day. So the last time he was in touch with his mom was on Friday night. He was at that bar in Nashville, just kind of FaceTiming her, calling her, and just showing her that they were having a good time. But obviously, when they didn't hear from Riley the next morning, they knew something was wrong. Take a listen.
First red flag, Riley never turns his phone or location off on his phone. That's first red flag. Second was he hadn't talked to her yet. So if he was up, he would have talked to her. He talks to his mom 4 or 5 times a day, either voice or text or all the above. So her gut's like something's wrong.
And Hallie, the stepfather also added that during their search efforts this weekend, they had an opportunity to speak with members of the homeless population in downtown Nashville. And when they showed a photo to one person, one of them actually said, Larry Bird, the famous basketball player. As I mentioned, Riley is tall. He's 6'7". So it sounds like they are getting some clues anecdotally, but they're also standing by for more surveillance footage that may be released from other businesses in the area. Hallie?
Kathy Park, thank you so much for that update. Appreciate it. Coming up, wait till you hear who is apparently on the VP shortlist for RFK Jr. If, of course, that potential candidate can squeeze in campaigning between Jets games. Yeah, we've got that coming up in our next hour. Plus, what we're learning about a Boeing whistleblower who warned about aircraft safety, now found dead. Now to a months-long exclusive CNBC investigation by Courtney Regan about a network of professional thieves across the country who police say stole stuff from stores, including Ulta, and then sold that stuff online. In one case, a group had been running its operation for more than a decade. California police say they made millions. Officials say that alleged theft ring is one of many hitting U.S. retailers hard. Watch.
It's a chilly, clear morning in the picturesque foothills of San Diego County as we head to a suspected crime scene. A convoy of law enforcement vehicles is about to descend on an unlikely place, a mansion complete with its own vineyard and chapel rented out as a wedding venue and Airbnb. Police believe it's also the headquarters for a lucrative theft ring, where items stolen from Ulta Beauty Supply and other retailers are being resold on Amazon. As we pull up, authorities tell us they have the suspected ringleader in handcuffs.
What are we looking for?
There they are, right there.
And it's happening everywhere. For months, we got exclusive access to the California Highway Patrol, watching up close how it fights organized retail crime, which, including external theft, totaled $40.5 billion in the U.S., according to the National Retail Federation's most recent estimate. On another day, in another California city, we see more truckloads of what police say is stolen clothing, mostly from TJ Maxx.
We have a search warrant for the resident. Come on with your hands up now.
I think people feel like it's hopeless. I want the retailers and the victims of this to know that that's not true.
Hands on your head.
Retailers specifically pointing to theft as a growing problem in recent years include Target, Foot Locker, Walgreens, and Ulta. But few quantify the impact or offer many details, raising questions in the industry about whether retailers are using the attention around theft to cover their own operational missteps. At the mansion, the woman in custody is Michelle Mack. According to the search warrant, she's in charge, giving a group of 12 women across the country a list of retail stores to target, along with the retail merchandise. Those Ulta Beauty products then ending up on an Amazon digital storefront called the Online Makeup Store at deep discounts. The search warrant alleges Mack has sold nearly $8 million worth of merchandise on the platform since 2012. The next morning, a team from Ulta unloads the haul along with CHP officers, sorting and carefully organizing everything. Most of it, $387,000 in stolen items from Ulta, according to authorities, but also some items from Sephora, Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, Sunglass Hut, and Lens Crafters. And these boxes of manila envelopes, they were being mailed to customers who ordered from the online makeup store who now aren't getting anything. Like Donna Washburn, who says she bought her daughter a $42 makeup item for Christmas.
Did it ever occur to you that buying a product off of Amazon, you could be buying a product that was stolen?
No, never. You put in the trust in a store like that they're checking these things.
As for Michelle Mack, California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced she and her husband Kenneth are facing charges of conspiracy, grand theft, and receipt of stolen property. The Macks have pled not guilty.
This Amazon marketplace site called the online makeup store that was selling the stolen goods year after year.
We asked Lisa Labruno, Senior Executive Vice President of the Retail Industry Leaders Association, how this could happen.
So if you're Amazon, should you have had some kind of an algorithm that flagged it?
This is not just about Amazon. There's other online marketplaces who serve as fences for the sale of stolen product. But I don't see the online marketplaces raising their hand and saying, we acknowledge that this is dirty money.
Retail CEOs have been largely mum about organized retail crime, but Ulta Beauty CEO Dave Kimball spoke to us in an exclusive interview about the issue.
We're absolutely fed up with it. I mean, it's impacting the experience that we work so hard to deliver for our team. These situations, they're not fun. They're threatening, they're intimidating, they can be traumatic.
What do you think in this case, as we're speaking of in California, that Amazon could have done to know that these were stolen goods?
What I would say more broadly is there is technology available. There's use of advanced analytics and data capabilities to try to understand behaviors that are indicative of reselling stolen goods.
Are you shocked by the sheer volume that one ring could have been doing over more than a decade?
Unfortunately, I'm not that shocked because we've seen it in other parts of the country. The magnitude of this one is significant. I do believe that the marketplaces and online distribution of stolen goods is part of the problem. This is not some individual that bought too many lipsticks and they want to resell it.
Amazon declined an on-camera interview, but told us it was, quote, untrue that the company is profiting from the sale of stolen goods. A spokesperson said we invest more than $1 billion annually and employ thousands of people to fight fraud. The company added that it uses sophisticated detection and prevention solutions, allowing us to quickly spot a range of organized retail crime schemes. Amazon acknowledged in this case, we did not receive signals to identify the seller was engaged in selling stolen goods. As far as TJ Maxx, the company tells us it's taking strong measures to fight organized retail crime. For more on our story, go to CNBC.com. Courtney Reagan, CNBC.
Our thanks to Courtney for that one. To Boeing now, and a whistleblower who worked for the company for decades, who sounded the alarm over alleged safety flaws, found dead in a truck from what a coroner today says appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot. John Barnett filed a complaint in 2017 after his retirement and sued Boeing for allegedly retaliating against him. He gave a formal deposition on that case just days before his death. In 2019, remember, Barnett told the New York Times that as a quality manager, he hadn't, in his words, seen a plane out of Charleston yet that he'd put his name on, saying it's safe and airworthy. That same year, he also talked with the Today Show about the safety culture.
From day one, it's just all been about schedule and hurry up and just get it done, push the planes out. We're behind schedule. We don't have time to worry about issues that y'all bring up.
It comes as we're also learning the FAA reportedly found dozens of problems with Boeing's manufacturing process and one of its key suppliers during an audit of the 737 MAX production. After that door plug blew off that Alaska Airlines plane in January. Tom Costello is joining us now. So two buckets here, Tom, two things to talk about. First, start with Barnett's death. What's the reaction been like?
Well, first of all, a great sadness that he allegedly took his own life. That's what the coroner says there. And the police also confirmed that it appears he took his own life. But the police are also investigating. As you mentioned, he was about to testify in this trial, essentially against Boeing for retaliation against him as a whistleblower. He started blowing the whistle in 2017, as you heard, alleging that Boeing was putting profits ahead of safety. It was cutting corners on the manufacturing line. His family is suggesting that the stress from this and the retaliation that he suffered in the workplace contributed. Take a look at what the family says. John carried all of this on his shoulders to try to bring this to light in the interest of the flying public. He was suffering from PTSD, anxiety as well, as a result of being subjected to the hostile work environment at Boeing, which we believe led to his death. That from the family. Boeing says its thoughts are with the family as well as friends of Mr. Barnett.
There's also, as we talk about this FAA audit, some pretty extraordinary details in here, details that I think regular folks who fly might be going, is that really how they're doing things here? Talk us through that and some of the response.
And NBC News has confirmed that, in fact, the investigators, the FAA team that's been doing the audit inside Boeing plants, specifically in Washington state, following the MAX 9 blowout, that they have found dozens of cases in which the audits failed. Boeing failed the audit, 33 of 89 in the process department alone, 7 of 13 product audits. And that this is really quite significant, because if you don't keep track of your bolts, literally, in designing and manufacturing and assembling a plane, if you're not checking your checklist off, then you don't know you're missing a bolt, right? You don't know that you're missing a part. You don't know that this job wasn't done. It appears that there is a top-to-bottom breakdown in quality control at Boeing, which the company says they are working very hard right now to address, and today alone told the entire company that they need to focus on safety. Here's what the FAA says. This won't be back to business as usual for Boeing. They must commit to real and profound improvements. We are squarely focused on taking significant demonstrated action, says Boeing, with transparency at every turn. Here's the Secretary of Transportation just today.
FAA is putting them under a microscope after seeing some of these concerns that were in some ways amplified by the site visits that FAA conducted, communicated in no uncertain terms to Boeing leadership that they have 90 days to put forward a comprehensive plan on how they're going to address these concerns, and we're not going to let them increase their production levels until they do.
Yeah, importantly, the FAA, of course, is a division of the Transportation Department. The FAA chief making it very clear they have 90 days to get their act together. They had better do exactly that. As we've discussed already, Hallie, they have lost a lot of confidence from the public, from the airlines, from members of Congress, and they do not have a lot of goodwill in storage at the FAA.
You and I, of course, just talking about that yesterday, I think, right here on this show. Tom Costello, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Still to come, a new warning from the intelligence community about TikTok as it gets ready to fight back against lawmakers who want to ban the app altogether in this country. We're getting into it. The director of national intelligence in just the last couple of hours telling lawmakers she can't rule out whether or not China will use TikTok to try to influence our elections here in the U.S. Comes as tensions over TikTok are really coming to a head on Capitol Hill. Just about 24 hours from now, its CEO will meet with senators, a rep tells NBC News, on the same day that the House is set to vote on a bill that could ban TikTok in America altogether, unless its Chinese owner, ByteDance, sells TikTok in the next 6 months. In just the last couple of minutes, our producers on this tell us that leadership says they expect a strong vote tomorrow, a strong vote. So maybe a warning sign there for TikTok. Lawmakers are walking this fine line then, right, between tackling national security concerns and, frankly, not totally annoying a ton of younger voters who use TikTok.
Cutting out a large group of young voters is not the best known strategy for re-election.
The biggest problem is they are essentially a backdoor for the Chinese Communist Party.
TikTok has demonstrated total irresponsibility.
TikTok's fighting back. They're pushing users to flood their reps with calls. Creators coming back on the Hill today, trying to stop all of this from happening. Brian Chung is following this one for us. You've got national security, you've got politics, you've got social media all playing into each other here. And what's interesting, people think of TikTok as such a Gen Z thing. It is. There's like a millennial population on TikTok, too. I'm not even speaking from personal experience. The numbers back it up. I mean, this could affect a lot of people who do and are of the age to vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, TikTok says there's 170 million users in the United States. So, I mean, yes, to your point, it spans across many different types of demographics. It's not just the Gen Zers doing the TikTok dance. But, you know, you heard it from Dick Durbin in that clip just now, which, by the way, pretty significant being the majority whip, right? I mean, we're hearing that there could be some concern that you might disenfranchise this very large voter base, especially headed into an election with a move like this. But we have to remember the business story behind this, right? TikTok is an enormously profitable business, $14.3 billion in revenue. It's been increasing over time. It's got 1.5 billion active users across the world. Again, 170 million here in the United States. And, you know, this is a group that is very much, you know, feeling like TikTok is significant enough for them to want to pick up the phone and call their local congressperson because of the fact that TikTok had that notification last week when the movement on this bill really began, saying to these users, hey, call your office and tell them to vote no on this bill. And it's a little bit early to say, Hallie, but it appears as if there might be some movement as a result of that, because you're hearing from some senators who, even ahead of this House voter, saying, I got to take a look at this bill and see what's going on. And then, of course, with the TikTok CEO headed to Capitol Hill, you wonder if there's going to be further movement on that front as well. So even though the president has said he would likely support this bill, it's far from finished over whether or not this could even get to his desk in the first place, Hallie.
Brian Chung, super interesting. I know more to come on that one tomorrow. We'll pre-book you for the show. Thank you so much. That does it for us for this hour. We've got more coverage picking up right now. We are coming on the air with a rarity in Washington, a brief, fiery moment of agreement between Democrats and Republicans united on offense against this guy, the former special counsel who investigated President Biden, as Robert Hur gets on defense to back up his decision not to prosecute the president, whom he called well-meaning and elderly. We've got team coverage just ahead on the spiciest moments in today's marathon hearing and the big question that could swing the 2024 election, the president's age. Plus, maybe something else that could swing the 2024 election, third-party drama with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now floating a big name for his running mate. This is not an accident. This isn't like the wrong graphic that we pulled up. It's really Aaron Rodgers. What does it mean for the race and for the Jets? We've got that in just a sec. We're also live in California with the new push to free a convicted murderer whose case seemed to launch 1,000 true crime shows. Why lawyers for Scott Peterson say they have new evidence proving he didn't kill his wife, Lacey. Then take a look at some of this. It's honestly unbelievable video out of Pennsylvania. This used to be a house. Now it's just a smoking hole in the ground. Deadly and terrifying. The new details we're getting from officials just tonight. And the big red flag from today's inflation report, what it means for your money and for the Fed's fight to try to keep interest rates low. A little bit later on in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and tonight you've got this political brawl exploding over a central question voters say they're thinking about. How much should President Biden's age matter? To Robert Hur, the former special counsel, this is him walking in here, testifying today as a private citizen. It's not a factor after Hur called the president an elderly man with a poor memory, saying he has diminished faculties as part of the rationale as to why Hur chose not to pursue criminal charges against President Biden, related to how classified documents from Mr. Biden's vice presidency ended up at his home and private office. You see one of the box there. So listen, Hur today is basically saying, hey, I wrote about the memory stuff because I had to show my work to my boss as to why I wasn't going to prosecute. And he's making something clear. Watch.
Exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm going to
continue
with my questions. I'm going to continue with my questions. I know that the term
I ultimately reached.
I know that
whether
the term
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely outcome
you exonerated
would be a conviction.
I know that
did not
the term
exonerate him.
willful
That word does not appear in the
retention has a.
He says that word, exoneration, did not appear in the report. Republicans zeroing in on a lot, including that, as Democrats accuse her of playing politics.
The president, I did not share classified information. I did not share it. I guarantee I did not. That's not true, is it, Mr. Hur?
That is inconsistent with the findings based on the evidence in my report.
Yes, it's a lie. It's just what regular people would say, right? Yeah, all right. You don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing.
Here's the thing. Hur says he did not believe a jury would convict President Biden, and his report is clear. This is not the same thing as what happened with former President Trump, who faces 40 federal charges and a possible trial for bringing top-secret documents to Mar-a-Lago. The backdrop to all of this tonight, both men, President Biden, former President Trump, probably just hours away from officially clinching their party nominations, hitting that magic delegate number. With the state we're watching tonight, one of the states voting, Georgia, at the heart of the 2020 election, a state that could swing this one, too. Blaine Alexander is there. We're going to get to her in a bit. We'll also hear from Vaughn Hilliard on all the developments on both the general election, sort of Republicans v. Democrats, as well as that third-party drama. But Kelly O'Donnell is outside the White House. Let's start there. Big line of the night for the White House right now. Case closed, right? They feel like this is a done deal. The president will not face prosecution on this. And for them, it's a little bit of walking away from it while still aggressively pushing back.
Very much so. And having the kind of exhaustive day of Robert Hur testifying, they believe that should be the end of it. Now, we know in the political and campaign space, it won't be over. But in terms of any expected next steps or what else could come, they feel, OK, they've gotten through this, and they are trying to emphasize that it is time to move on. What we certainly saw today is a combative two sides of the hearing room, where if people just dipped in for a moment, you could pretty quickly tell which side maybe an unfamiliar lawmaker was on. And you will hear some of those arguments made outside of Capitol Hill in the political space as well. Now, Hur, for his part, as you mentioned, he is now a private citizen, said he didn't sanitize the report, and he also does not believe he disparaged the president. That's something that goes right down the middle, and the different sides will compete over that. One of the big issues that drew so much attention is about the president's memory, which at times when you read the transcript or you see excerpts of what was the interview conducted in October, right after the attack in Israel, when the president was doing his day job and doing this, sitting for several hours of sworn testimony, you get a sense that when it comes to his late son, Beau, and trying to place that in the context of other events, moving after being vice president, all these different things. There were some fuzzy moments around dates, but in the fullness of the report, there are others who would say it was just stream of consciousness. It was just the president thinking out loud. People will interpret it in various ways. For the White House today, we heard from the White House counsel spokesman who came out and said the most important thing after all this testimony and a lengthy investigation is that no charges have been filed, and the prosecutor does not believe that there was any crime committed. Here's what Ian Sams had to say.
Well, in America, we do have the presumption of innocence. And when a prosecutor spends 15 months investigating a case only to determine that there is no case here and that there will be no charges and that the case is closed, it only affirms the innocence of the president.
That's the word from the White House on this. Certainly Republicans say there is more to talk about, and we'll see that playing out. Hallie?
Kelly, the other piece of this, though, right, and Republicans hammered this again and again, the idea of the age issue, I guess, for lack of a better way to phrase it here. The president is 81 years old. When I talk to folks in the Biden orbit, I hear things like, there's nothing they can do about it, right? Like, in other words, he's going to be 81. There's no policy that's going to change that. There's no law they could pass to make him younger. They've got to tackle this in a bit of a different way. We saw that a bit from the president during a State of the Union, where he started to refer more and more to his opponent here. Presumptive, right? The potential Republican nominee in the matter of 7 hours from now, saying, listen, he's only 4 years younger. He's implicitly making that case.
Very much so. And if there were a way to turn back time, a lot of us would sign up for that.
Girlfriend,
right?
Let me tell you.
Yes, yes. So that can't be done. And they tried that approach initially, and they said it was sort of baked in 2020. People knew how old the president was. Now here we are some years later, and they recognize that it is a resilient issue of concern among voters in polling over time. It is something that his rivals talk about. And so they are trying to take it a little bit more aggressively with humor, but also pointing out that Donald Trump is just a few years younger, effectively the same age. And so you'll hear the president talking about it and trying to make age equal wisdom. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell live for us there on the North Lawn. Kel, thanks. Let me bring in Vaughn Hilliard, who's joining us now. We heard from Kelly about the way that President Biden plans to handle this age issue. Former President Trump has been handling it differently, and it was interesting to see from Democrats this video that they played, laying out the various ways in which Mr. Trump also stumbled or mistook people for other people or made mistakes in his speech or made mistakes in references as well. How much is that a concern to Team Trump, that could become something that is more prevalent in this campaign?
It actually took a while for the Biden campaign, Hallie, to really hit back on Donald Trump on the exact thing that Trump has used to bludgeon Joe Biden, as you were saying now, for the better part of the last 4 years. Donald Trump has been the leading charger on this front of calling attention to questions around the memory and the faculties of Joe Biden today. And that is where you see, even this afternoon, from Trump campaign's own email out to its supporters, an article that was calling direct attention to the testimony from Robert Hur today and his report calling into question parts of Joe Biden's memory when it lapsed on, for instance, on the year that his son Beau Biden died. Of course, this is granular, a lot of details, and for Donald Trump, he is somebody that usually bypasses those details. And when you look at the comparisons, look, there was special counsel appointed to oversee the classified documents that were retained by both of these men, and there are clear distinctions, oftentimes, which Donald Trump goes over. There is, in the indictment against him, serious allegations of obstruction of justice, and even on the day that the FBI came to Mar-a-Lago to seize documents, the transferring of boxes of documents. So there's a clear distinction, and that's what Democrats were trying to call attention to today with Special Counsel Robert Hur. I want to let you listen to Congressman Hank Johnson, a Democrat, even question whether he left the DOJ yesterday for the purposes of the hopes of trying to join a future Trump administration. Take a listen.
You knew that that's what was going to happen, didn't you?
Congressman, I reject the suggestions that you have just made. That is not what happened.
But you are a Republican, though, aren't you?
I am a registered Republican.
Yes, sir. And you're doing everything you can do to get President Trump reelected so that you can get appointed as a federal judge or perhaps to another position in the Department of Justice. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I have no such aspirations, I can assure you.
Of course, Hallie, the Trump campaign and allies of the former president have used the words of Robert Hur and his report to their benefits politically, Hallie.
Vaughn Hilliard, I'm going to ask you to hang with me for just 1 second because I want to come back to you on something else bubbling in the political landscape that Blaine Alexander is covering as well, and that is the start officially, right, for real this time, of the general election, potentially as soon as, midnight tonight, first thing tomorrow morning, because it is possible that both President Biden and former President Trump, with Georgia voting today, along with several other states, could hit the magic number of delegates that they both need to get their respective party nominations. Talk us through what you're seeing in Georgia, because this is going to be the first of many times we will be having the conversation about voters in Georgia. They're going to be critical come November.
And they know that they're going to be critical, Hallie. That's the sense that I'm getting from a lot of the voters that I've spoken to here in Fulton County and some of the suburbs like Gwinnett County, other voters like that. The issue is that nobody is particularly excited about who's at the top of their ticket on the Republican and Democrat side. Now, we use the word excitement, but really, as one Democrat told me who really works to get out the vote here in Georgia, excitement isn't the measure as to whether or not anybody's going to go to the polls. It's will they turn out? Will they actually get up and go? Not whether or not they're excited about a candidate. To that point, though, for today's primary, the turnout has been relatively low. Now, keep in mind, it's largely a foregone conclusion. We know that this is just kind of the march ahead to November. But here's what the Secretary of State had to say about turnout today. Take a look.
Today's gone relatively uneventful, smooth. We've probably right now, we know that we can probably say there'll be 9% turnout, perhaps at 10%, something like that, where we are right now.
Relatively uneventful is not something that we typically hear when we talk about Election Day in Georgia, but that's what we're looking at for today's primary. Now, people that I'm speaking with on both sides are really working to make sure that that's not the case in November, because they're going to need every single vote that they can get, Hallie, in order to win either side in November.
Yeah, no kidding. Blaine Alexander, thank you. Vaughn Hilliard, one of the things that could take a bite out of the number of voters going for either President Trump or President Biden or former President Trump, depending on sort of how you see it, is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I think about this because I think that the reporting has suggested that perhaps an RFK campaign could be more damaging to Donald Trump than Joe Biden. I don't know if that's the conventional wisdom, but it seems as from some of the focus groups that have been out there, that is where things are, from some of the polling as well. And now we have a sense of the Veep stakes for him, right? And it is from MVP to VP. Maybe Aaron Rodgers? What?
Hallie, what? Aaron Rodgers took 4 snaps last year. Maybe politics may be a better option for him going forward here.
But he wants to play next season.
He wants to play next season, and who says that you can't run for president of the United States or vice president of the United States where you're also playing on the football field?
You are right. There is no law to prevent that.
And you got a pretty good fan base tuning in for those games. That's kind of free campaign advertising, if you will. Look, Aaron Rodgers is the vice presidential pick. It says a lot about the state of our politics here today.
But explain that. How did this even get into the conversation? Like, what is happening?
Well, number one, RFK Jr., the former Democrat turned independent last year. He wanted to run for president of the United States as an independent. And on the ballot in a good number of states, you've got to make an announcement about who your running mate is going to be. And so there's a time clock. It was a month ago that he told me he was going to make his announcement within the month. He bypassed that own self-imposed deadline. And there are serious question marks of who he would select. And frankly, it's not like you've been seeing folks eagerly run and raise their arms saying we are supporting Kennedy for president or want to be his VP. The other individual who is up for consideration, according to Kennedy, is Jesse Ventura, the former Minnesota governor. And so for this ticket, I mean, there's the chance of spoiling it for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And a lot of that is going to evolve. You know, I was at a Kennedy event a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to folks that were there. There were some folks that told me they would otherwise vote for Joe Biden, a good number that told me they would vote for Donald Trump if Kennedy wasn't in the race, and then others that said they wouldn't vote at all. He has sort of this weird, complex group of folks, most who are anti-vax or anti-COVID restrictions, but others, you know, he kind of has the message of anti-corporations, anti-big oil, you know, pro-environment, more democratic-type policies. So it's a kind of a weird mix of folks that come from really both sides of the political spectrum, Hallie.
Vaughn Hilliard, thank you for being across all of it tonight. Appreciate it. Also tonight, the first step in the fight for a new trial for Scott Peterson, convicted of killing his wife and unborn son in one of California's most infamous murder trials, really one of the most high-profile in a generation. So you see him here. This is him in today's hearing. He joined remotely from prison, where he's serving a life sentence without parole for first-degree murder. Lacey Peterson was reported missing on Christmas Eve in 2002. Her body washed up on shore of the San Francisco Bay months later. Now, the Los Angeles Innocence Project has taken up this case, trying to test new evidence and new DNA analysis tech to prove Peterson's innocence. It is honestly hard to overstate just how big of a deal this trial was. Wall-to-wall coverage on the news, multiple TV series coming out of this thing, multiple documentaries about the case itself. It seemed inescapable then, and now it is back in this pretty unexpected way. I want to bring in Liz Kreutz, who's following this in Redwood City, California. It's a big deal in the first place that the LA Innocence Project even took this up. I wonder how Lacey's family feels about this. Do we know?
Yeah, Hallie, no, her family has not said anything. They have not commented since the LA Innocence Project announced that they were taking on this case and now going to be representing Scott Peterson. We imagine it must be pretty hard for them. Scott Peterson's family, however, they haven't said anything publicly, but we do know that they are thrilled by this. It's something that they've been working towards. And Scott Peterson's brother and sister-in-law were here in court today. His sister-in-law, Janie, literally went to law school, got a law degree after his conviction in order to help him prove his innocence. They believe, his family believes, that he did not get a fair trial, that he was basically tried and convicted in the court of public opinion, which goes back to the media frenzy you talked about. And it was so fascinating to see 20 years later, the media frenzy here today. Members of the press across so many television networks here, just like they were 2 decades ago. Many of the same members of the press were back reunited here today. In fact, just an illustration of that, the local photographer for the NBC station here in the Bay Area was wearing a T-shirt from 2004. We have a picture of it that literally shows the mob of press that was there at the time. And so what that says for the Peterson family, they believe the media, the public opinion, that all of that led to an unfair trial. He was convicted before people really took all the evidence into account.
It's not the first time that Peterson has tried to get a new trial, Liz.
No, it is not. He has tried many, many times. The most recent time was overthrown in 2002. He has been able to overturn his death penalty conviction. He's now serving life in prison. But look, there is a lot of evidence that points to the fact that he's guilty as well. We can't forget about that. The fact that he lied about a mistress, the fact that he went fishing in the San Francisco Bay on Christmas Eve alone. The same day Lacey Peterson disappeared, he bought that fishing gear just 3 weeks prior. He also apparently behaved very oddly
oddly after she disappeared, dyeing his hair, having cash, thousands of dollars in cash. So a lot of questions on both sides here, but it certainly is significant, Hallie, as you've been bringing up, that the LA Innocence Project is even taking this case on, because they're a very reputable organization, and it makes you definitely feel like they feel like there could be a case at least to retry it.
Can you pull back the curtain a bit, Liz? Like, I have to imagine that you're standing in front of the courtroom, right? Was it just swamped today? I mean, again, this was like, I don't remember, I think, a lot of this stuff, but I just remember the name, like having grown up around that. This was such a huge deal, and I just think it has to be a scene.
Totally. I mean, I didn't cover it 20 years ago, so I don't, and I'm sure it was like 3 times the crowds back then. But even just today, yes, you hear Scott Peterson, all the networks show up, the print reporters show up, everybody was here, and you had the same sort of characters show up as well. Many of the same attorneys for the state and the county. Janie Peterson was here. She's been the spokesperson for Scott Peterson's family for years. And then seeing Scott Peterson, he was not there in person. He joined via Zoom, but it was interesting to see him too. He had his hair pulled up tightly in a man bun, which a lot of people pointed out too. So it's just interesting, and I think, dates were set for future hearings, 3 future hearings, the one in April, one in May, and then one in July, and it's going to be going on for months now, again, before we even find out if there'll be a new trial. Of course, if he gets a new trial, the media frenzy is just going to even kick up into high gear even more.
Yeah, Liz Koritz, thanks for pulling back the curtain a bit on that one. Thank you. Appreciate it. To Pennsylvania now, where we're just learning that 2 people have been found dead at the scene of what a fire chief calls a severe house explosion in Pennsylvania, in that state. So severe that's all that's left, look at this, is just a smoking hole in the ground. The house, I mean, it's just been obliterated. Look at that. You look at this and you think, how could this have happened? Officials either don't know or they're not saying. Let's go right to Emily Aketa. Do we know anything at all about this one?
Hey there, Hallie. Yeah, the pictures, as you could see, really quite stunning. The home is absolutely obliterated. I'll tell you one of the things that we are just confirming with the son of the victims, the couple being identified to NBC News as Helen and David Mitchell. We know that the explosion happened just before 9 a.m. outside of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County. And the blast, it was so powerful. It was felt and heard miles away from the site. One woman describing seeing her garage door of her home blown into her home. Other people describing it sounding like a bomb. There was debris scattered throughout the trees, throughout the area, really rattling the community. It is the only explosion of its kind to ever happen in Crescent Township. Here's more from the fire department, which just sat down the hill, less than a mile away from the site of the explosion. Take a listen.
We all felt and heard the explosion. Instantly, a column of white smoke up in the air, followed by a thick column of black smoke. A very significant explosion. You could feel it in your chest, and you definitely feel the explosion.
And the timing of this explosion really strikes a chord because exactly 7 months ago, there was another house explosion in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, that killed 6 people, including a 12-year-old boy. The cause of that explosion still has yet to be identified. Today's incident also being investigated by a number of different agencies. Officials saying that there was a private gas well and propane tanks at the home. Many people, just for background, use private gas wells that use natural gas, and unlike gas from a utility company, gas from wells, it doesn't always contains little to no odor to alert the user, the homeowner, that there could potentially be a gas leak. Again, I need to underscore that the cause of this explosion is still not clear, but we know the Department of Environmental Protection, the ATF, and the fire marshal are investigating. But Hallie, it could be months, if not years, before this community gets answers.
Yeah, no kidding. Emily Aketa, thank you very much for that. Tonight, some new questions about who will lead Haiti after the country's prime minister announced he'll step down as violent gangs take over the country. You're going to see the man here. This is shooting off that gun, the man considered to be Haiti's most powerful gang leader, just firing shots, walking down the street, a show of force with the country crumbling around him. Remember, Haiti's been in crisis for years, really since the country's president was assassinated in 2021. But last weekend, that's when you saw the state of emergency that we've talked about a lot here on this show. Gangs banding together, attacking government institutions, the big airport there, prisons. Guad Venegas is joining us now, and it feels like the word that is so central to all of this for Haiti right now is just uncertainty. There are so many questions about Haiti's future and what happens from here.
Hallie, a lot of uncertainty, especially with the gangs having so much power in Port-au-Prince. It's estimated they control 80% of the country's capital. We showed the images of that gang leader, who's also known as Barbecue. He's been speaking on camera, talking about why the gangs were opposing the prime minister. One of the complaints was that the prime minister did not hold elections. He was named after the president, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated, and elections have not been held in Haiti. The prime minister said that was because of security reasons. So here's the gang leader speaking on camera after learning that he had resigned.
We're not in a peaceful revolution. We're making a bloody revolution in the country.
It's hard to say what that means. So now we know that there's a special presidential council that will have power. So with the resignation, this presidential council, formed of 9 members, will have one challenge. The first challenge is to select a new prime minister and interim prime minister. That council is formed of 2 observers and 7 other members who are part of the political parties, the business community, civil society, and a religious leader. Now, once they choose this new prime minister and interim prime minister, that prime minister has to work to finally hold elections in Haiti. But then there's also the question of security. The gangs still control a large part of the country, and we don't know how the gangs will react in the next 24, 48 hours after the prime minister has resigned, right? So meanwhile, the international community is working to send in the peacekeeping troops from Kenya, about 1,000 soldiers. Kenya's waiting for a new prime minister to be named to move forward with that peacekeeping operation, and that could give a lot of power to the new prime minister to finally get control of those areas that the gangs have been controlling for the last few months, Hallie.
Quad Venegas, across all of it tonight. Thank you. Coming up here on the show, Ghislaine Maxwell asking a court today to overturn her sex trafficking conviction. By her lawyers say she shouldn't have even been prosecuted in New York. Plus, police in New Orleans want to move their headquarters because of what's happening in the evidence room. Why they say the rats are getting high. New details just into us about a deadly altercation in California. A sheriff's deputy shot and killed a 15-year-old boy after he charged at officers with apparently a sharp garden tool, according to the sheriff department, which is also releasing the disturbing body cam video. We're going to play it. We're only going to show it to you once. It's the moment right before this teenager was shot by the deputy. You can hear in the background there the deputy yelling. We'll listen for a second. He's telling him to get back, get inside. We should note that the sheriff's department added the blur and then paused the video. The sheriff's department says they responded to an emergency 911 call from one of the teen's family members who said he was assaulting people in the home and damaging property there. Detectives are obviously investigating now. Elwin Lopez is following all of this for us from Los Angeles. Tell us more about this one.
Yeah, Hallie, one of the teenager's sisters called 911. In that phone call, you can hear that she's distraught. You can hear the chaos unfolding in the background. She tells the 911 operator that her brother has broken into the home, that he came through the window, he had glass in his hand, and that he had assaulted their sister. You can hear how distraught she is in that call, and we know that that call lasted a little over 5 minutes. Some of it has been redacted due to privacy reasons, and the sheriff's department has released 2 sets of body camera footage from 2 separate officers. One we just saw there, the officer entering that home and that teenager charging towards the officer with that 5-foot gardening tool with a sharp blade at the end of it. That deputy then retreating from the teenager, running away from him, saying, get back, you're going to get shot. The other video is from a separate deputy. He is a little bit farther back, and it's a wide shot view of what's unfolding, and you can see him draw up his gun. We know that all of this ended tragically with those deputies fatally shooting that teenager. The family of that teenager now coming out and saying that that 15-year-old boy had autism.
The sheriff's department is pointing to the need for more mental health resources now, Elwin, and because of this, right? How does that stand?
Yeah, that's right. They released a statement. We're going to show it to you right here. But the sheriff said that the social safety security net for those who are experiencing mental illness needs to be strengthened. He also pointed out that the vast amount of calls they receive, like this one from the teen sister, saying that most of them do not end in violence. The sheriff also stating that these violent encounters typically require split-second decisions, and that while those decisions are lawful, they are awful in terms of humanity. He says that that he feels for both Ryan's family and for those 2 deputies who will struggle with this for the rest of their lives. Hallie.
Elwin Lopez, thank you very much for that reporting. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, today, Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys have asked a court to overturn her conviction for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse girls. You'll remember she was found guilty back in 2021. She's serving a 20-year prison sentence. Her lawyers had argued that an agreement Epstein had in Florida should have prevented her from getting prosecuted in New York, something a judge didn't seem to buy. It could take months to get the court's decision. Number 2, police in New Orleans say rats are eating drugs like cannabis in their evidence room in this building. The police chief says the rats are all high. It's actually not a new thing. Our affiliate there says this has gone on for more than a decade. The department's trying to get some upgraded buildings now. Sounds like the rats do run this city. Number 3, Kohl's says it's going to add like 200 Babies R Us shops to its stores across the country. It's like a little store within a store. Kohl's is going to add some more baby products to its site. It's trying to bring in younger customers, maybe some new moms, new dads, etc. Number 4, a new survey is finding support for same-sex marriage dropping last year, with a smaller share of American adults saying they support laws protecting LGBTQ+ people from discrimination. That's reversing, to a degree, a trend that we've seen over the last decade. Researchers say party polarization is behind it. Number 4, speaking of rats that are high, turns out LaGuardia is flying high. How's that for a news lady transition? A new survey says LaGuardia is now the best airport of its size in North America. That is, like, let's talk about a comeback, because a few years ago it was the worst. At the cost of billions of dollars, officials turned it around. New terminals, new, like, airport roadways. Listen, LaGuardia is nice now. You can get a nice little snack. It's a good spot. Let's talk the markets, because stocks are jumping today despite the news inflation ticked up a little bit. Look at this. The Dow is up more than 200 points, and the S&P closed at another new record, another one. The strong market close, coming after the number that tracks how much stuff costs, is up a little more than 3% compared to a year ago. But here's the thing. What the stock market likes, the Fed does not. It sees that increased inflation going in the wrong direction after months of progress. Christine Romans is joining us now. Help us make sense of it. How should we be thinking about this? What's the most important thing about this?
I think it's just stalled. Huge progress on inflation last year. Huge progress, coming down from 9.1%, which felt awful, and now at 3.2%. And that's up a little bit from January. It's not the straight line of progress that we saw last year. So stalled here, stymied here. And the things that are the reason, the culprits, housing, which has been, quote unquote, sticky inflation. I'm sure you've heard that. It's like turning a battleship trying to fix the housing price problem. And gasoline prices ticked up a little bit. So that's what you have there kind of behind these numbers. So it's 2 months in a row of above 3, still stuck in this. Since October, it's been stuck between, 3.1 and 3.3%. So stuck in this little band, stuck, stalled, stymied. I could use a whole bunch of S words. The alliteration is everywhere here on the inflation report.
Girlfriend, your alliterative illuminations here are just killing it. Talk to us about the thing that you and I love to talk about, because I think it's important. This perception between the numbers and how we feel about these numbers, right? How we feel about our money.
I was actually joking with Tom Yamas earlier today that I'm going to ban the word inflation from my vocabulary. I'm just going to say affordability, because we can talk about the inflation rate all we want, but things are less affordable today than they were 4 years ago. For example, overall prices are up 20% compared with the beginning of 2020. Groceries, Hallie, look at that number, up 25%. So this is why people feel so rotten about the economy, because they remind every time they go try to buy a hamburger. Now, I will say the President Biden, out today with a statement on these numbers, pointing out that things like gas, milk, eggs, and appliances are cheaper today than a year ago, but still saying that there's a lot of work to be done, and of course then using it as a kind of a trampoline for the things that he wants Congress to do with him to lower costs for housing and a lot of other things. So talking about those prices and affordability, that's the sort of the political take on all of it, but 2 months in a row here where you just didn't see the progress that you would that you'd like to see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Christine Romans, thank you very much.
Great to see you.
When we come back, the search happening right now in Nashville for a missing college student, but his family tells our team late tonight. Plus, how Ukraine is launching a new wave of attacks in Russia. NBC News covers hundreds of international stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our teams around the world have done it for you. Here's a look at what they're watching in a segment we call The Global. Out of Cyprus, a ship carrying hundreds of tons of aid has now set sail on a 2-day voyage to Gaza, taking off this morning. The U.S. charity World Central Kitchen organized the mission, and the UAE mostly funded it. They're also building a makeshift jetty on the coast of Gaza to try to offload the food. In Russia, Ukrainian troops have launched a wave of drone attacks against targets deep inside Russian territory, hitting some fuel facilities, some energy facilities. You're looking at footage of some of the aftermath. At the same time, Russian armed groups who oppose Putin say they also made a ground strike into Russia. It's the latest push to put Russia on defense in its own territory days ahead of a presidential election there. And out of Romania, a court says controversial internet personality Andrew Tate can be extradited to the UK. That's after a British court issued an arrest warrant for Tate over charges of sexual aggression, allegations the brothers categorically deny. The court in Bucharest says it's going to wait to extradite the Tates until they finish a different trial in Romania. Tonight, the parents of a missing University of Missouri student are asking for help after their son went missing Friday on a fraternity trip to Nashville. Riley Strain caught on surveillance footage. You see him there. He's highlighted in that sort of lighter circle. He's crossing a street Friday night after police say he was kicked out of a bar. He's by himself. Those aren't his friends you see elsewhere in that footage. His friends say they lost track of him. Officers have checked local hospitals, jails. They tried pinging his phone. It's led nowhere. Country star Luke Bryan owns the bar, but wasn't there at the time. Kathy Park is joining us now. I understand that you've just spoken with Riley Strain's stepdad. What did he tell you?
Hey there, Hallie. Yeah, despite the circumstances, the stepfather is telling me they are hopeful. They're hopeful that they will bring Riley home, that he will graduate this May. In fact, I was told when they knew something was wrong, when they found out that Riley was missing, they actually got into the car from Springfield, Missouri, and drove straight to Nashville, Tennessee, and began their own search efforts throughout the weekend on the ground, but unfortunately still no sign of him. The stepfather also added that Riley stands out in height and stature. He's 6'7", blonde hair, blue eyes, but he also stands out just with his personality. He's an outgoing guy, never met a stranger, but obviously the family is heartbroken. They are distraught right now. They are desperately searching for answers, and like I mentioned, they are searching on the ground for any clues that may lead them to Riley. But the other thing that was odd, according to the stepfather, is that Riley contacts the family regularly. In fact, he contacts his mom 4 to 5 times a day. So the last time he was in touch with his mom was on Friday night. He was at that bar in Nashville, just kind of FaceTiming her, calling her, and just showing her that they were having a good time. But obviously, when they didn't hear from Riley the next morning, they knew something was wrong. Take a listen.
First red flag, Riley never turns his phone or location off on his phone. That's first red flag. Second was he hadn't talked to her yet. So if he was up, he would have talked to her. He talks to his mom 4 or 5 times a day, either voice or text or all the above. So her gut's like something's wrong.
And Hallie, the stepfather also added that during their search efforts this weekend, they had an opportunity to speak with members of the homeless population in downtown Nashville. And when they showed a photo to one person, one of them actually said Larry Bird, the famous basketball player. As I mentioned, Riley is tall. He's 6'7". So it sounds like they are getting some clues anecdotally, but they're also standing by for more surveillance footage that may be released from other businesses in the area. Hallie?
Kathy Park, thank you so much for that update. Appreciate it. Coming up, Whittier here, who is apparently on the VP shortlist for RFK Jr. If, of course, that potential candidate can squeeze in campaigning between Jets games. Yeah, we've got that coming up in our next hour. Plus, what we're learning about a Boeing whistleblower who warned about aircraft safety, now found dead. Now to a months-long exclusive CNBC investigation by Courtney Regan about a network of professional thieves across the country who police say stole stuff from stores, including Ulta, and then sold that stuff online. In one case, a group had been running its operation for more than a decade. California police say they made millions. Officials say that alleged theft ring is one of many hitting U.S. retailers hard. Watch.
It's a chilly, clear morning in the picturesque foothills of San Diego County as we head to a suspected crime scene. A convoy of law enforcement vehicles is about to descend on an unlikely place, a mansion complete with its own vineyard and chapel rented out as a wedding venue and Airbnb. Police believe it's also the headquarters for a lucrative theft ring, where items stolen from Ulta Beauty Supply and other retailers are being resold on Amazon. As we pull up, authorities tell us they have the suspected ringleader in handcuffs.
What are we looking for?
There they are, right there.
And it's happening everywhere. For months, we got exclusive access to the California Highway Patrol, watching up close how it fights organized retail crime, which, including external theft, totaled $40.5 billion in the U.S., according to the National Retail Federation's most recent estimate. On another day, in another California city, we see more truckloads of what police say is stolen clothing, mostly from TJ Maxx.
We have a search warrant for the resident. Come on with your hands up now.
I think people feel like it's hopeless. I want the retailers and the victims of this to know that that's not true.
Hands on your head.
Retailers specifically pointing to theft as a growing problem in recent years include Target, Foot Locker, Walgreens, and Ulta. But few quantify the impact or offer many details, raising questions in the industry about whether retailers are using the attention around theft to cover their own operational missteps. At the mansion, the woman in custody is Michelle Mack. According to the search warrant, she's in charge, giving a group of 12 women across the country a list of retail stores to target, along with the retail merchandise. Those Ulta Beauty products then ending up on an Amazon digital storefront called the Online Makeup Store at deep discounts. The search warrant alleges Mac has sold nearly $8 million worth of merchandise on the platform since 2012. The next morning, a team from Ulta unloads the haul along with CHP officers, sorting and carefully organizing everything. Most of it, $387,000 in stolen items from Ulta, according to authorities, but also some items from Sephora, Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, Sunglass Hut, and LensCrafters. And these boxes of manila envelopes, they were being mailed to customers who ordered from the online makeup store who now aren't getting anything. Like Donna Washburn, who says she bought her daughter a $42 makeup item for Christmas.
Did it ever occur to you that buying a product off of Amazon, you could be buying a product that was stolen?
No, never. You put in the trust in a store like that they're checking these things.
As for Michelle Mack, California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced she and her husband Kenneth are facing charges of conspiracy, grand theft, and receipt of stolen property. The Macks have pled not guilty.
This Amazon marketplace site called the Online Makeup Store that was selling the stolen goods year after year.
We asked Lisa Labruno, Senior Executive Vice President of the Retail Industry Leaders Association, how this could happen.
So if you're Amazon, should you have had some kind of an algorithm that flagged it?
This is not just about Amazon. There's other online marketplaces who serve as fences for the sale of stolen product. But I don't see the online marketplaces raising their hand and saying, we acknowledge that this is dirty money.
Retail CEOs have been largely mum about organized retail crime, but Ulta Beauty CEO Dave Kimball spoke to us in an exclusive interview about the issue.
We're absolutely fed up with it. I mean, it's impacting the experience that we work so hard to deliver for our team. These situations, they're not fun. They're threatening, they're intimidating, they can be traumatic.
What do you think in this case, as we're speaking of in California, that Amazon could have done to know that these were stolen goods?
What I would say more broadly is there is technology available. There's use of advanced analytics and data capabilities to try to understand behaviors that are indicative of reselling stolen goods.
Are you shocked by the sheer volume that one ring could have been doing over more than a decade?
Unfortunately, I'm not that shocked because we've seen it in other parts of the country. The magnitude of this one is significant. I do believe that the marketplaces and online distribution of stolen goods is part of the problem. This is not some individual that, bought too many lipsticks and they want to resell it.
Amazon declined an on-camera interview, but told us it was, quote, untrue that the company is profiting from the sale of stolen goods. A spokesperson said we invest more than $1 billion annually and employ thousands of people to fight fraud. The company added that it uses sophisticated detection and prevention solutions, allowing us to quickly spot a range of organized retail crime schemes. Amazon acknowledged in this case, we did not receive signals to identify the seller was engaged in selling stolen goods. As far as TJ Maxx, the company tells us it's taking strong measures to fight organized retail crime. For more on our story, go to CNBC.com. Courtney Reagan, CNBC.
Thanks to Courtney for that one. To Boeing now, and a whistleblower who worked for the company for decades, who sounded the alarm over alleged safety flaws, found dead in a truck from what a coroner today says appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot. John Barnett filed a complaint in 2017 after his retirement and sued Boeing for allegedly retaliating against him. He gave a formal deposition on that case just days before his death. In 2019, remember, Barnett told the New York Times that as a quality manager, he hadn't, in his words, seen a plane out of Charleston yet that he'd put his name on, saying it's safe and airworthy. That same year, he also talked with the Today Show about the safety culture.
From day one, it's just all been about schedule and hurry up and just get it done, push the planes out. We're behind schedule. We don't have time to worry about issues that y'all bring up.
It comes as we're also learning the FAA reportedly found dozens of problems with Boeing's manufacturing process and one of its key suppliers during an audit of the 737 MAX production. After that door plug blew off that Alaska Airlines plane in January. Tom Costello is joining us now. So two buckets here, Tom, two things to talk about. First, start with Barnett's death. What's the reaction been like?
Well, first of all, a great sadness that he allegedly took his own life. That's what the coroner says there. And the police also confirmed that it appears he took his own life. But the police are also investigating. As you mentioned, he was about to testify in this trial, essentially against Boeing for retaliation against him as a whistleblower. He started blowing the whistle in 2017, as you heard, alleging that Boeing was putting profits ahead of safety. It was cutting corners on the manufacturing line. His family is suggesting that the stress from this and the retaliation that he suffered in the workplace contributed. Take a look at what the family says. John carried all of this on his shoulders to try to bring this to light in the interest of the flying public. He was suffering from PTSD, anxiety as well, as a result of being subjected to the hostile work environment at Boeing, which we believe led to his death. That from the family. Boeing says its thoughts are with the family as well as friends of Mr. Barnett.
There's also, as we talk about this FAA audit, some pretty extraordinary details in here, details that I think regular folks who fly might be going, is that really how they're doing things here? Talk us through that and some of the response.
And NBC News has confirmed that, in fact, the investigators, the FAA team that's been doing the audit inside Boeing plants, specifically in Washington state, following the MAX 9 blowout, that they have found dozens of cases in which the audits failed. Boeing failed the audit, 33 of 89 in the process department alone, 7 of 13 product audits. And that this is really quite significant, because if you don't keep track of your bolts, literally, in designing and manufacturing and assembling a plane, if you're not checking your checklist off, then you don't know you're missing a bolt, right? You don't know that you're missing a part. You don't know that this job wasn't done. It appears that there is a top-to-bottom breakdown in quality control at Boeing, which the company says they are working very hard right now to address. And today alone, told the entire company that they need to focus on safety. Here's what the FAA says. This won't be back to business as usual for Boeing. They must commit to real and profound improvements. We are squarely focused on taking a significant demonstrated action, says Boeing, with transparency at every turn. Here's the Secretary of Transportation just today.
FAA is putting them under a microscope after seeing some of these concerns that were in some ways amplified by the site visits that FAA conducted, communicated in no uncertain terms to Boeing leadership that they have 90 days to put forward a comprehensive plan on how they're going to address these concerns, and we're not going to let them increase their production levels until they do.
Yeah, importantly, the FAA, of course, is a division of the Transportation Department. The FAA chief making it very clear they have 90 days to get their act together. They had better do exactly that as we've discussed already, Hallie, they have lost a lot of confidence from the public, from the airlines, from members of Congress, and they do not have a lot of goodwill in storage at the FAA.
You and I, of course, just talking about that yesterday, I think, right here on this show. Tom Costello, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Still to come, a new warning from the intelligence community about TikTok as it gets ready to fight back against lawmakers who want to ban the app altogether in this country. We're getting into it. The director of national intelligence in just the last couple of hours telling lawmakers she can't rule out whether or not China will use TikTok to try to influence our elections here in the U.S. Comes as tensions over TikTok are really coming to a head on Capitol Hill. Just about 24 hours from now, its CEO will meet with senators, a rep tells NBC News, on the same day that the House is set to vote on a bill that could ban TikTok in America altogether, unless its Chinese owner, ByteDance, sells TikTok in the next 6 months. In just the last couple of minutes, our producers on this tell us that leadership says they expect a strong vote tomorrow, a strong vote. So maybe a warning sign there for TikTok. Lawmakers are walking this fine line then, right, between tackling national security concerns and, frankly, not totally annoying a ton of younger voters who use TikTok.
Cutting out a large group of young voters is not the best known strategy for re-election.
The biggest problem is they are essentially a backdoor for the Chinese Communist Party.
TikTok has demonstrated total irresponsibility.
TikTok's fighting back. They're pushing users to flood their reps with calls. Creators coming back on the Hill today, trying to stop all of this from happening. Brian Chung is following this one for us. You've got national security, you've got politics, you've got social media all playing into each other here. And what's interesting, people think of TikTok as such a Gen Z thing. It is. There's like a millennial population on TikTok, too. I'm not even speaking from personal experience. The numbers back it up. I mean, this could affect a lot of people who do and are of the age to vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, TikTok says there's 170 million users in the United States. So, I mean, yes, to your point, it spans across many different types of demographics. It's not just the Gen Zers doing the TikTok dance. But, you know, you heard it from Dick Durbin in that clip just now, which, by the way, pretty significant being the majority whip, right? I mean, we're hearing that there could be some concern that you might disenfranchise this very large voter base, especially headed into an election with a move like this. But we have to remember the business story behind this, right? TikTok is an enormously profitable business, $14.3 billion in revenue. It's been increasing over time. It's got 1.5 billion active users across the world. Again, 170 million here in the United States. And, you know, this is a group that is very much, you know, feeling like TikTok is significant enough for them to want to pick up the phone and call their local congressperson because of the fact that TikTok had that notification last week when the movement on this bill really began, saying to these users, hey, call your office and tell them to vote no on this bill. And it's a little bit early to say, Hallie, but it appears as if there might be some movement as a result of that, because you're hearing from some senators who, even ahead of this House voter, saying, I got to take a look at this bill and see what's going on. And then, of course, with the TikTok CEO headed to Capitol Hill, you wonder if there's going to be further movement on that front as well. So even though the president has said he would likely support this bill, it's far from finished over whether or not this could even get to his desk in the first place, Hallie.
Brian Chung, super interesting. I know more to come on that one tomorrow. We'll pre-book you for the show. Thank you so much. That does it for us for this hour. We've got more coverage picking up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.